Test 2, 1. One, two, three, four.
Boker Tov, Shabbat Shalom, Lekulam. Welcome to Temple Beth Shalom and Grace's Bat Mitzvah on this gorgeous, magnificent Shabbat morning. We want to ask all of you to take a moment to just check your cell phones to make sure they're on silent so that we preserve the sanctity of this very special service for which Grace has worked so hard to prepare. And we are going to open our service in joyful song with the singing of Ma Tovu, which speaks of how goodly our tents are, how good it is to be here in this very special tent of Temple Beth Shalom. All together, page 172.
Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Your turn. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la. Va'ani berov chazdecha, avo veitecha, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la. Eshvacha ve'elhecha al kodshecha, ve'yiratecha b'yiratecha. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla. Last chance. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la.
So my name is Gail Pomerantz. I am a rabbi here at Temple Beth Shalom. I am officiating here with Cantor Lisa Siegel, but the real star who will be leading our service is Grace. And so we hope that you will sing along when we sing, that you'll follow along with our prayers. And let's just take a moment to breathe in deeply and slowly breathe out any stresses or worries or hassles of getting here so that we can be fully present for this magnificent moment. And I'm going to call Adina Esther Chana to meet me here on the bima to receive your talit. So this talit, which you are being presented with, was your grandfather's, and Ashley's dad, and it has very special significance, I know, to your family, and it's a real privilege for you to be able to wear it for the first time, to wear a talit and have it be this talit, which your parents wore at their wedding, at that special moment in their lives, and which has accompanied your family on other simchas, and which you will grace here today. And the significance of the talit are the four corners, these fringes that are known as tzitzit. And these tzitzit are supposed to be literal reminders of our obligation to live a good, just, and righteous life. And I know that is the way you were raised, and you probably don't need reminders, but all of us are human, so it's good to have reminders. So I hope when you wear it that you feel all the love and all the blessings that's already contained in this talit, and you feel the special love that your parents feel for you today. So I call them up to present you with this talit. And now you'll say the blessing that's said before wearing a talit.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen. And you'll put it around your daughter's shoulders. You can give her a little hug. And we're going to thank God for all of you reaching this very special day in your lives with the words of Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu
We're going to continue our service on page 175 with the chanting of Nisim B'chol Yom, our blessings for daily miracles.
We chant the Nisim B'chol Yom responsively. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan laseh bi binah lehavhin bein yom ubein laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Together, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokev kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten laya'ef koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'enai utnuma me'afapai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tselem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani batorin.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael betifara.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Please turn to page 180 for the Elu Devarim. Elu Devarim she'ein lahem shi'ur, she'adam ohel perotehem, ba'olam hazeh, ve'hakeren kayemet lo la'olam haba, ve'elu hein. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of this world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. V'talmud Torah keneged kulam. Please turn to page 188 and join us in singing Psalm 150.
Let every living soul praise God with the words, Hallelujah. Please join me. Hallelujah. 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 Elbe kocho. Hallelujah. Bekia uzo. Hallelujah. Bekorota. Hallelujah. Kero kulo. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Betake a shofar, hallelujah. Benevel vechinor, hallelujah. Betovu machol, hallelujah. Bepinim vepugav, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Bitsil to lay shama, hallelujah. Bitsil to lay trua. Kola hachama till hallelujah. Kola hachama till how together. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Please turn to page 194 and rise for the Hatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah Be'alma divrach irtei v'yamlich malchutei V'chayechon uv'yomechon Uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bahagala Uv'izman kahariv V'yimeru Amen Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach Le'alam lo mehamaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei dekodesha leila min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran me'alma ve'yimeru ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 together ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer ur uvorei hoshech, ozeh shalom uvorei et hakol, hameir la'aretz beladarim alea berahamim, uvtuvo mehadesh behol yom tamid ma'aseh vereshit, ma rabu ma'aseha Adonai kulam behochma asita male'ah ha'aretz kinyaneha. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot. We continue on page 198. Ahava Rabbah ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu. Hemla gedola v'teira hamalta aleinu. Ba'avur avotenu be'imotenu. We join together singing V'ha'er einenu.
והארננו בתורתך, ודבק לבנו במצוותיך, ויחל לבבינו לאהבה ויראה את שמך, ולא נבוש ולא נגלם ולא נגשל לעולם ועד. כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך, והביאנו לשלום בארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו.
We read responsively in the middle of page 199. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we return to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, haboher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levovecha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher nohi metzavecha hayom alevavecha Beshinatam levaneha, bedivarta bam, beshivteha beveteha, uvlechteha vadere, ushofbeha uvkumeha, ukshartam leot ayadeha, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohehem. We read together on page 203. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and generations to come. The song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, and soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We turn to page 205 and rise for the Amidah. Adonai sefatatipta ufi yagi tehilata ha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Raham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Ve'konei HaKol, Ve'zoher Hasde'avot ve'imahot, U'mevi Ge'ula Lifnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai Mekin Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah.
Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atarav LaHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid Hagah Hashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Sohomech Noflim Verofech Holim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayeh Mehemunato, Lishenei Afar, Bichamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, ונאמנת להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
We remain standing for the Kedushah on page 208.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל החי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהייך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד קולך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד קולך. ולנצל נצלים קדושת הנקדיש, קדושת הנקדיש. נשיבה האלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם באל. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד קולך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד קולך. ולנצל נצלים קדושת הנקדיש, קדושת הנקדיש. נשיבה האלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם באל.
To all generations we will make known your great. To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips.
Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated.
We join together singing Veshamru, page 210. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם.
בינו ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו
בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, v'shamru
B'nai Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berid olam. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat through all the ages, as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. We continue with a prayer for gratitude, Modim Anachnu La, on the bottom of page 213. Modim Anachnu La, She'ata Hu Adonai Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu Be'imotenu Le'olam Va'ed. We pray that we may live, not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch Atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha Ulha Na'eh Lehodot. We sing together a prayer for peace, Sim Shalom, page 216.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen v'chesed Berachamim Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Aleinu ve'al kol Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Tova Uvracha Tova Uvracha. We take a few moments for the prayers either on the pages or in your own hearts.
Grace, I love you. You're my best friend, and I want you to know that you can always count on me. If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle ever forget how so lost in the dark and you can't see, I will be the light to guide you. We'll find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Yeah. If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I will sing a song beside you. If you ever forget how much it really means to me, every day I will remind you. We'll find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, yeah. You'll always have my shoulder when you cry. I'll never let go, never say goodbye. You know you can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. You can count on me 'cause I can count on you.
Amazing. Grace, speaking as the younger sister, no, you can stay seated. Speaking as the younger sister in my family, I just want you to know how lucky you are to have a sister who adores you like that. Really, really beautiful. And I know you adore her too. Very sweet. We're going to continue our service with Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of the Torah, which is the main event here on this Saturday morning. We're going to turn to page 244 in our prayer books. And as we do, I'm just going to call your attention to this wonderful brochure that we all know who designed, the famous Ashley. And on the cover is Grace's beautiful punim, her beautiful face. And inside are listed all of the honors that'll take place at this point in the service. So if you see your name in here, please be alert and come up and be ready to take your honor so you don't miss this special privilege. Page 244. There is none like you among the gods, Adonai, and there are no deeds like yours. You are sovereign over all worlds, and your dominion is in all generations. Adonai reigns, Adonai has reigned. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Adonai will give strength to our people. Adonai will bless our people with peace.
Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, udevar Adonai merushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav.
Grace, Adina, Esther, Hannah. This is the Torah, Israel's Morashah, our sacred heritage and our inheritance. Wherever the Jewish people has been, this Torah has been with us, guiding us, teaching us, sustaining us. The late great Rabbi, Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who was the chief rabbi of England, said that we can only pass on to our children what is precious to us. And I know how precious this Torah is to your family. I remember after the Tree of Life shooting in Pittsburgh that we had a special service at Temple. And your father came, maybe your whole family came, and he told me about how when he goes to Temple, he likes to carry his talit bag with the Jewish star facing outside because he's so proud of his Jewish identity. And so there have been many people who have passed this Torah from generation to generation so that you would stand here today embracing it. So symbolic of that chain of tradition, I want to call up your grandparents and your parents to give you this Torah.
We are gifts and we are blessing. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Ledor vador nagid god lecha. Ledor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. Ledor vador, nagid god lecha. Ledor vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagivura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod ki chol v'shamayim uvaretz ki chol v'shamayim uvaretz lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'hamiknaseh lechol rosh
This is the moment that Ashley and Alec have been waiting for when they get to give their daughter their words of blessing before the reading of the Torah. And so I'm going to call them forward so that they can share their praise and thoughts and prayers with Grace.
Happy Bat Mitzvah to my sister and my best friend, Grace. I don't tell you this very much, but I love you. You are the best sister anyone could ever ask for, wonder for, or dream for. Even though you drive me crazy sometimes when you sing too much, or play too loud music, or take the longest showers, you could win an award for that. I still love you to the moon and back. I could go on and on about the things that I love about you, but the things that I admire the most about you are that you make me laugh, you're pretty, you don't care what people think about you, and you never get mad when I steal your stuff. Lastly, you always share everything with me, whether it's your KJ top or the last piece of Grandma's chocolate cake. I'm so proud of you today. You worked your butt off every week for months. I hope that I will grow up to be just like you. I love you, Grace. Mazel tov.
So before I say anything, Alec and I just want to express our sincere gratitude to everybody here, just here in the sanctuary. We love you all. Grace has been blessed to have been mentored, supported, and guided by 4 beautiful and strong women: Rabbi Pomerantz, Cantor Siegel, Cantor Nicholson, and Barb Szymanski. Together on this 100th anniversary of young women being able to become a bat mitzvah, you have helped Grace begin the transition from a child into a woman in the eyes of God, and we thank you. Now on to all of you. COVID really did a number on us. It warped all sense of time and togetherness. It shook our routines and sense of security. Birthday celebrations, weddings, anniversaries, bar and bat mitzvahs, football games, travel, even the simplest of meals were put on hold. COVID, for all of the pain it caused, makes today that much sweeter. Thank you to you, our dear family and friends, who took time out of their busy lives to fly in, brave COVID, and be here with us today. Maryland, Virginia, California, Washington, Texas, Utah, Oregon, Illinois, and New York are all in the house. Thank you to our local village, who are from Miami, Miami Beach, Weston, and Boca. We love you. We want to give special thanks to the aunts and uncles who treat Grace like their own, to her older, cool cousins, who are her perfect role models, and to her younger cousins she can't get enough of, and to her grandparents who have helped shape her. You have fostered Grace's self-deprecating sense of humor, her love of jewels, her elegance, and her generosity. She has been blessed by the consistency of your unconditional love and security. And Grace, even though you never met my dad, you wear his qualities beautifully, and I see him in you. Okay, now on to my team, Team Lindy. Let's start with you, Eve, our little bundle of energy and fun. You keep us on our toes, you keep us laughing. You are in perpetual motion and always lighten the mood with your wit and dead honesty. Life is just plain old fun when you're around. So thanks for putting up with your sister, and you have big shoes to fill. And my Alec, my rock, and my funny bone, my heart. Somehow we made a beautiful child, a child who is now, what? Oh, sorry. Somehow we made a beautiful child, a child who is now 14, a child who is a bat mitzvah. I swear it was yesterday when we were speeding to the hospital in Hollywood, hitting every red light, every train, and full elevators. I feel like half the time we have no idea what we are doing with this parenting thing. But we are on this journey together, in sync, and there's no one I'd rather have by my side. Thank you for being a role model father and for putting up with my crazy mishigas leading up to today. All right, Grace, it's your turn. Come here. Grace, on a cool Sunday evening, February 10th, 2008, your big brown eyes, squishy nose, and full head of hair found their way into the world. In an instant, you filled my grateful heart. It's funny. I've heard people say that the way you come out of the womb is indicative of how you will carry yourself in life. Maybe it's an old wives' tale. I kind of believe it. You see, you didn't cry. Not a sound. You came out as calm as can be. You looked around like you were taking it all in, observant, just like you are today. There's a video of you just staring at Daddy right after you were born, and him staring back at you. You connected immediately. That's so you, Grace. Calm, peaceful, always taking in the moment, always connecting. Now fast forward to today, and that gummy, toothless smile is now filled with braces and rubber bands. That spiky head of hair is now long with an enviable natural ombre. That squishy nose has transformed into your great-grandma Mumu's perfect bump with the tip of your nose ever so slightly tipped up. Those crinkled toes and fingers are now long, like Lindenauer long. And those eyes are wide, almond-shaped, and mesmerizing. But these are the things we see on the outside. And it's those things that are not visible to the eye that make me and make all of us head over heels for you. And I want to share those with you today. I want you to hear out loud what makes you you. First, your heart. You love with your fullest self. You don't care if we're in the car or at a friend's house. You will take my hand, you will give me a kiss on the cheek. You will say I love you, unprompted and unfazed if someone might see or hear you. There is no cap to your affection. Next, you have a calm demeanor, yet firm character. You know right from wrong, and your integrity is unwavering. You are insightful, and you bring your unique sense of clarity and candor to the table. You do not acquiesce to bolder personalities. You are thoughtful. When you come home from school, you always ask me how my day was. Teenagers are supposed to think the world revolves around them, but you do an amazing job of thinking outside yourself. You are an observer and have a high level of curiosity. You like to ask questions. You like to go deep. You grasp complex topics, and if you don't understand something, you dig your heels in, and you won't stop till you figure it out, right? Next, you move at your own pace. I like to call it the grace pace. Years ago, you declared, "The sloth is my spirit animal." And you got that right. Getting dressed, eating breakfast, doing your homework, brushing your hair, these are all done at your grace pace. You are not the fastest storyteller or the fastest shower taker or the fastest cleaner of your room, but I will tell you what you are fast at and good at. Sharing your heart, letting people know who you really are, giving people the benefit of the doubt, sharing physical things, listening, rooting for others, always. I admit your pace can be maddening sometimes, but what you may not realize is that I really appreciate grace pace. You have taught me to slow down in a world filled with deadlines and timelines and ever-continuous calendar invites. The reality is, your pace is the right pace. Take a step back, slow it down, delve deeper, take note of the moment. So why do I share all of these things with you today, Grace? Because I want you to know what I see in you. How proud I am of who you are and your innate goodness. So my one wish for you on this most proud day is that you live a full life of sunshine, the kind of sunshine you give and the kind of sunshine you feel surrounded by today. May you never forget the warmth and love filling you up in this room, and may you always maintain grace pace. Okay, maybe not always, maybe pepper in some cheetah moments into your sloth spirit, but on this most proud day, I'll also tell you to shoot for the stars. We will always have your back, but fly, climb that rock, sail that boat, direct that next play. Stay close to people who are sunshine, just like you. I love you so much. Thank you.
All right, this is really cool. Just looking out at all of you. So I just want to add, Ash did a beautiful job thanking everybody. I do just want to add a couple of notes to that. One, Eve, thank you for being so supportive. You know, it's not easy to let somebody else shine in the house, and she's been working on this for months, and you've been supportive the entire time, except for sometimes at breakfast when she was practicing, and she's like, stop, it's too loud. But other than that, she was really supportive. And Ash, I so often introduce you as my better half, and that's true, so true. But it's more than that. You drive to make everything better. Me, our children, our lives, everything around us. As an example, last night, actually, so we were sitting around the table, and you said, let's have everybody talk about their connection to grace, and I said, no, it's fine. Well, sometimes it's fine is okay, but you're always looking to make things better, and it did. And you were right, and continually you strive to make everything better, and you're so good at it, so thank you for pushing to make things better all the time. This day, once you go in the other room, you'll see it's just like Ashley. It's understated, but elegant and beautiful. And you're the best. All right, now, on to Grace. I'm going to start with a question, Grace. The question is, why did God create a world where flowers have to die? That's a good one, right? It's not mine. Grace asked Ashley that question when she was 3. Even at 3, Grace, you were asking profound questions. Now here we are, 11 years later, and you're doing it straight from the Torah. Simply amazing. And what a fine job you're doing, certainly better than I ever did. The fact is, Grace, you're a better student, you have a bigger heart, and are much better looking than me, too. Basically, you take after mommy. Yeah. But if I just had to pick only 2 words to describe you, Grace, they would be loving and empathetic. Those of you who've been on the receiving end of a grace hug, you know what I mean. There are hugs and there are grace hugs. A grace hug has 2 stages. It's that initial 2 to 3 second hug, which we all do, but then there's that second level. That's the part where she leans in a bit more, grips a little tighter, sinks into you, and really lets you know that you matter to her. You can literally feel her loving you. It's the only feeling in the world that matters to her. In that moment, it's absolutely superb. There's a reason Mommy calls you Love Bug so often. As far as empathy, Grace, I haven't ever seen anything like it. The first time I heard somebody comment about your ability to see and feel their emotions was Little Papa. For those of you who don't know, Little Papa was Grace's great-grandfather, and he passed away just before his 103rd birthday, almost 2 years ago. About 2 weeks after you were born, Papa looked up after locking his gaze with you for a minute or so, and he said to me, "It's like looking right into my soul. It's like she's looking right into my soul. It's like she knows exactly who I am." And then my mother nodded in complete agreement and said, "I felt the exact same way." We all teach our children it's not nice to stare, but Grace, even at 2 years old, if there was someone in your midst who was clearly suffering to any degree, whether confined to a cast, walking with a limp, or crying for some reason, there you were, staring. But not in the way others might. You did it to absorb and understand the emotion of that person. You were somehow connecting with them. Your questions to us after the fact were always deep as you wanted to know what could cause such pain or sorrow. You wanted to know why God would create a world where flowers have to die and that person has to suffer. And you still do that today. Thankfully, though, you're at least a bit more subtle than when you were young. Grace, for those reasons and so many more, I'm honored to know you, to be your father, to be your teacher, and to be your student. I just love being in your orbit, as my father so often says. Now, you're not perfect, of course. You move at a snail's pace, like Mommy said, and there are other imperfections, but today's not the day for that. In fact, someone told me I'm supposed to give you some life advice while I'm up here, so here goes. Grace, you're exceptional at being present, being in the moment. Like your Aunt Michelle and Mommy, you suck the marrow out of the bone whenever possible. Like when you're on the second level of a Grace hug, there's nothing else in the world at that moment. But a few weeks ago, you told me a story that I just knew I would recite here up on the bima. After your first softball game this year, you were so excited to tell me how you reached first base for the first time. As you recounted the story, I felt like I was there. In my mind's eye, I could see you proudly taking ball 4, standing on first base with a huge smile. As you described it so vividly, I could see you then running your fastest to steal second just a few pitches later. And then I could see you running back to first base because your teammate had been standing on second base the whole time and she was screaming at you to go back. For me, that was classic Grace. So in the moment of your first chance to be on base, but also not as aware of the world outside that moment. So Grace, that's my advice today. Don't lose your special ability to enjoy that moment, but at the same time, stretch that field of vision to take in that larger environment around you. With that, I'm going to ask you to expand your field of vision now to take in this congregation, this gathering, and not just the words you're reading. Take a look at all of these people here today because they love you and your Grace hugs. You can do it. Now, the words you're reading today, they are important, of course. Today, those words, this ritual, is truly a rite of passage. You've taken on a commitment like you never have before, and it's certainly not a surprise that you've accomplished all that you set out to do. This marks the beginning of your transition to adulthood and an important point in your relationship with Judaism, however it is you want that to look. Mommy and I are so proud of you. We are today and always proud of you in ways you couldn't possibly imagine yet. We're also grateful to you and for you. We're also grateful for the help you received along the way to get to this point. Rabbi and Cantor, thank you not just for guiding Grace today, but all of the days since she walked these halls as a pre-kindergartner, and for cultivating this community for all of us here today. This place, this community actually, I have to say, it's something that I didn't experience as a child. For me, Temple was a place that you went, whether in New York or whether in Miami, you went every so often. But this place changed that for me. This became a community, and I didn't really know that that could exist. So as we walk around, it's the rabbi, it's the cantor. We know all of the people who work here and have had for many years. Jody is taking pictures. Her kids were in class with these same pre-kindergartners. There's other kids running around here that were bumping bellies with these children. So I thank you for this community. Lastly, Grace, I'll close with the most appropriate close I can think of. Inscribed in the inside of my ring, it says, I love you to the moon and back. And that's exactly right. I love you to the moon and back. You're the best.
Thank you, Evie, Alec, and Ashley, for sharing your Torah with us. That was so beautiful. Now we're going to turn to the Torah that Grace has been working so hard to learn. And for this part of the service, if you wish to follow along, you can put aside your prayer books, your slim prayer books, and take out your big Torah commentaries, which are under your seat and look like this. And she is going to be chanting from page 752, verse 14, beginning at verse 14. The Torah portion is known as Mitzvah. And as we said last night, and as Grace is going to teach a little bit about after she chants from the Torah, it is a portion that's concerned with purity and impurity, and really all of these messy things that she's reading about in her Torah portion are meant to teach us about how to become holy people. The whole book of Leviticus is about holiness. So let's look at these words in that context as she begins by calling up her aliyot.
Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah harishona. For the first aliyah, I would like to call up my grandparents, Dale Moses, Lori Wynn, and Shelley and Paul to the Torah.
I gotta read this. Do I have to read this? Is there somebody that can write? Yeah, okay.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor. Zot tiyeh Torat HaMetzorah beyom tohorato behuva el hakohen veyatza hakohen el mihutz lemahane v'ra'a hakohen v'hinei nirpa nega hatzarat min hatzarua.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emes v'hayei olam b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Thanks again.
Give her a kiss and congratulate her.
You are the best.
Come on the other side of me.
So lovely.
Excuse me. Before we come off the bima, I just want to share a story with you that we've been fortunate to have a lot of bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs from our grandchildren and children. And each time we try to take the pressure off them by kidding them about all the tension that they're going to feel. So we did it by making up a little jingle.
Okay.
All right.
Come on.
Bye-bye.
And this is it, I promise I won't do it after this. You ready? First your knees shake, you get a headache, you got the bima blues, wah, 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 wah.
All right. Woo. Yeah, I need to learn that.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Call up your next aliyah. Call the next one, it's okay.
Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah hashniya. For the second aliyah, I would like to honor my aunts and uncles, Jocelyn Brandeis, Robin Moses, Sydney Moses, and Jessica and Howard Weiss to the Torah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'tiva hakohen v'laka lamitaher shetei tziporim hayot tehorot ve'etz erez ushni tolad ve'ezov v'tiva hakohen v'shahat et hatzipor ha'ehat el keli herez al maim ha'hayim et hatzipor ha'ehat yika ota ve'et etz ha'erez ve'et sheni ha'tolat ve'et ha'ezov ve'taval otam ve'et hatzipor ha'haya bedam hatzipor ha'shahuta al hamayim ha'hayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Wait a second. For this next aliyah, we're going to be continuing still on page 752, chapter 14, beginning with verse 7.
Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah ha'shlishit. For the third aliyah, I would like to call up my aunts and uncles, Duke and Carolyn Moses, Michelle Norman, Jed and Jane Siegel, and Alan Siegel to the Torah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu b'hamim v'natan et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ve'hizah al hamitaher min hatzarat sheva pe'amim betiharo beshila et hatzipor ha'haya al panei hasadeh vehibes hamitaher et begadav begila et kose'aro berahat b'mayim V'taher ve'ahar yavo el hamahane ve'yashav mihutz le'ohalo shiv'at yamim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, notei haTorah. Mazel tov.
Really, everybody with Mitzvah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Fabulous.
You guys come over here, sir. Sir.
Jen.
Just for one more aliyah.
Ya amdu ha'olim la'aliyah harvi'i. Avi Aharon ben Pesa Yitha ve Leah ve Imi Ahuva Miri bat Avraham ve Davida Yaakov. For the fourth Aliyah, I would like to call up my parents, Ashley and Alec Lindenauer, and my sister Eve Lindenauer to the Torah.
Baruch et Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Behaya bayom hashemini yigala et kol se'aro et rosho ve'et zekano ve'et gavo einav ve'et kol se'aro yigalea ve'hibes et begadav berahat et besaro B'mayim v'taher Uvayom hashemini Yika shenei hevasim temimim Behavsa ahad et bat senata temima Usoso ezronim So let minha Belula Bashemen Belo Gehad Shaman.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
The final aliyah is known as the maftir. Typically, that is the very end of the Torah portion, but this is a special Shabbat known as Shabbat Hagadol, the Great Sabbath. We're doing that. We have a special Haftarah today for Shabbat Hagadol. Shabbat Hagadol is always the Sabbath right before Pesach. Anyway, we're going to turn to page 759, chapter 15, verse 31. And for this aliyah, Grace will be chanting from our Sephardic silver scroll in the Ark. So if you're able, we invite you to please rise.
Tahamot ta'amod habachura bat hamitzvah va'aliyat Torah Adina Esther Chana bat Aharon ve'ahuva Miri Chizki,
Baruch et Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. V'hizartem et b'nei Yisrael mitumatam v'lo yamutu b'tumatam b'tame'am et mishkani asher b'toham zot Torat hazav v'asher tetzei mimenu shichvat zera l'tomava v'hadava v'nidata V'hazav et zovo, v'zahar v'lanekeva, ul ish, asher yishkav, im temeah.
So beautiful.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Mazel tov. Such beautiful chanting. You can sit down. And these were difficult. This was difficult Hebrew, and she really made it sound easy and beautiful. And you would never think that skin diseases and fungus and mold could sound so beautiful. But it did. Thank you. You may be seated, everyone.
The Haftarah for Shabbat Hagadol can be found on page 1459. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'nvi'im tovim Beratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Haboher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'nvi'ei ha'emet b'tzedek Be'areva l'Adonai minhad Yehuda b'Yerushalayim ki mei olam Ushanim kadmoniot Vekaravti alehem Lamishpat Behayiti Eid memaher Bam hashefim Uvamna afim Uvanishbaim Lashaker Uvoshekei Sehar Sahir Almana Veyatom Umateger Velo Yereuni Amar Adonai Tsevaot. Our Haftarah continues towards the end at verse 23. Hine Anohi Shalea Lahem Et Elia Hanavi'i Lifnei Bo Yom Adonai Hagadol Behanora V'heshiv levavot al banim, v'lev banim al avotam, pein avo. V'hiketi et haaretz herem, hine anohi shalei lahem et Elia hanavi'i lifnei bo yom Adonai hagadol behanora. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik behol hadarot, ha'el hane'eman, ha'omer ve'osei, hamdaber u'mkayem, shekol dvarav emet v'tzedek, al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'i ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'linuha lehavod ultif aret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim la barahim ota yitbarach shimha bevi kol hai tamid leolam ba'ed. Baruch atah Adonai
Baruchu v'ruch shemo.
mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen.
Beautiful. Now you're going to get your speech. Okay, is that there or is that here? Ashley's. That's your. Oh, right there. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay, nice and slow. Okay.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm so glad you all could make it. I really appreciate it, especially during COVID. My Torah portion is called Mitzvah. It can be found in Leviticus, also called Vayikra, which is the third book of Torah. Although Mitzvah isn't the most desirable portion, it discusses many important topics and themes. Throughout the portion, there are many underlying messages that are still useful today. One recurring theme that stood out to me was that humans naturally fear the unknown and often rely on isolation and quarantine as solutions to their problems. During my research, I also noticed how Mitzvah deals with ideas and rituals of becoming pure and impure. I was particularly drawn to the topics involving women. Mitzvah informs us that people were forced into quarantine if found with leprosy. Women also had to quarantine when going through their cycle. They were considered impure and had to go through a ceremony to become pure again and return to their everyday lives. Back then, people didn't know that this was a natural thing and wasn't harmful to them. However, they were isolated because people naturally distance themselves from things they are afraid of. Unknown things tend to scare people and result in periods of isolation. While studying this week's Torah portion, I have learned that people tend to avoid and isolate themselves from new things. When they are afraid, they feel they need to remove themselves from the situation instead of embracing new things. For example, people had to quarantine and isolate themselves if they had leprosy. This was unnecessary because it is not contagious in that way. This shows that people distance themselves out of fear instead of learning about the problem head-on. The same thing happened with COVID. At the beginning of the pandemic, the quarantine time was 14 days, and you had to get tested a bunch of times before moving on with your lives. Now it's only 5 to 7, and tests are not required if you are not showing any symptoms. However, the original sickness, Alpha, is much less contagious than the most recent one, Omicron. During my studies, I used the old traditions and rituals found in Mitzvah and related them to modern times. This made it easier to understand and relate to. Similarly, I used the old tradition of becoming a bat mitzvah and related it to my own life. This helped me find out what becoming a bat mitzvah means to me. Becoming a bat mitzvah means participating in a huge tradition that has been passed on from generation to generation. It's an honor, privilege, and an experience I will never forget. It is also a sign of maturity and the transition from childhood to adulthood. It symbolizes growing up and means doing my part in the community. Part of contributing to my community is by doing volunteer work or community service. For my mitzvah project, I've decided to donate fidget toys to the cancer patients at the Nicholas Children's Hospital. I spoke with a pediatric oncologist, and she said her patients tend to get very stressed out during their appointments. Hopefully, my donation will help to relieve their anxiety. I chose this project because Mitzvah focuses on isolation. Cancer patients are isolated from most kids their age and can't risk interacting with too many people. This naturally forces them into living very lonely lives, and I'm hoping my donation will offer them a little bit of comfort. Speaking of comfort, it's very nice having you all here, both virtually and in person. Rabbi Pomerantz, thanks so much for all your help and guidance throughout this entire process. I really appreciate it. Cantor Siegel, you're a fantastic musician, and I'm thankful to have you standing by my side on the bima today. Barb, you were a great mentor, and this speech wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for you. Thanks for teaching me about my Torah portion, even if it was a little gross. Cantor Nicholson, you've taught me everything I know and have helped me to prepare for today. I honestly believe I have learned more Hebrew with you these past few months than I ever will in my entire life. To all of our friends, locally and out of town, I couldn't thank you enough for taking the time to celebrate with me today. To all of my cousins, I really appreciate you all for coming. You guys never fail to make me laugh, and hanging out with you is always tons of fun. To my aunts and uncles who treat me like their own, thank you so much for all your love and support throughout this entire process. To all of my fantastic grandparents, thanks for all your help in preparation for today. Nanny, I am so lucky to be wearing a pair of earrings as beautiful as the ones I have on. Papa, thanks for teaching me the Bima Blues and constantly making me laugh. I still have those knee pads, by the way. Grandma, you fill both my belly and my heart every time I see you. Not gonna lie, your chocolate cake has kept me going during these last few months. Grandy, you're the fanciest person I know, and I love you with all my heart. Thanks for the fantastic shoes. They really make a statement. Eve, you've been by my side every step of the way, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner in crime. I am thankful for your patience in listening to me practice constantly. I love you so much. Daddy, I feel so blessed to have you here with me today. I'm so incredibly lucky to have a father like you, and no one could ever take your place. I'm so fortunate to have you. You are, and forever will be, my favorite videographer, superhero, and DJ. I love you to the moon and back. Mommy, words can't express the amount of respect, love, and gratitude I have towards you. Thank you so incredibly much for helping me practice and prepare for today. This entire ceremony wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for you. I feel so blessed and lucky to have you up here with me today. Thank you so much for all that you do for me, and I hope you know how much I love you. Wow, that was a lot of thank yous. After months of learning, practicing, and preparing, my hard work has finally paid off. I honestly couldn't have asked for a better group of people to be celebrating with. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
So many papers up here. So your hard work really did pay off. That was extraordinary. And you know, a lot of times when a student is up here leading services and I'm praying behind them, I have to be really soft because I don't want to interrupt or disturb them. But your voice was so clear and bold and beautiful that I could pray out loud without having to worry because you were that kind of a leader of the service today. And it's great to see that beautiful smile of yours. So I want to say a word about the longest Hebrew name I've ever heard. Adina, Esther, Hannah. So it's obvious that your parents had very big ideas for you, by giving you such an incredibly long and beautiful name. And today I want to say that you really honored each one of the names your parents chose for you. Adina means fine or gentle. And when you know Grace, I mean, you called it calm. I see this gentleness to you, and it's evident in the way that you speak to people so thoughtfully. And your second name, Esther, of course, calls to mind Queen Esther in our tradition, who was noble. She was a queen. She was also a leader of the people. And you are honing your leadership chops. You were director of your play, your middle school play. But I know that there's a lot more leadership in there, and I want to tell you, we need more rabbis in the world. So I'm just planting that seed right now, Grace, for you to think about. And your third name, Hannah, means God's grace, which of course reflects your given or secular name. And you are very graceful in the way you carry yourself and in the way you interact with other people. So it was really just beautiful to see all those names reflected today. I want to say a word about your parents. It was a special privilege to watch them kfel today. They are such special people, and I cherish their leadership and participation at Temple Beth Shalom. And you know, I know you know this, but your mother has this light. And when she walks into a room, it just lights up the room. And you do the same thing, Grace. That's very special. So you had the honor of having Shabbat Hagadol, the great Sabbath, for your bat mitzvah. And you brought dignity to Shabbat Hagadol today. Of course, it came along with Mitzorah, which was all about, fungus, mold, skin disease, blood, leaking body parts, all the things that a 13-year-old young woman wants to focus on out loud. But Leviticus deals with these very real, messy parts of life because they are part of life. And, we saw that in the pandemic with sickness and isolation and loneliness. These are all parts of life. It's what it means to be human. But what the Torah portion is trying to teach us is that we shouldn't ignore those difficult parts. Rather, we should try to bring consolation to them. We should try to sanctify them in some way. And I feel that you really got this in this thoughtful mitzvah project that you are doing with those fidget toys, because you're taking what is truly the worst moments of a child's life and trying to bring some consolation, some distraction to them. And that, of course, is your sensitive soul reflected in that project. Your Haftarah from the prophet Malachi mentions Elijah. Elijah, who's going to be at our Seder tables, God willing, next week in 1 week. And Elijah is spoken of to remind us of the coming of the Messiah. And our tradition in the Talmud, there is a question that's asked by the rabbis. How will we know when the Messiah comes? Where will we find the Messiah? The Messiah, this flesh and blood person who is supposed to save the world. And then they answer and they say, you'll find the Messiah by the gates of the city, binding the wounds of the sick. And that is our mission, is to care for those in our world who need us the most. And that's the message I hope that you take away from today, to always use your great mind, your heart, your soul, to care for others and to bring your incredible heart and spirit into this world. And now, Grace, it is my pleasure to bless you in the words of the ancients. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yikunecha. May the light of God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence always be with you and grant you a lifetime of good health, of love, of joy, of holiness, wholeness, and peace. And let us all say, Amen. And now we're going to take just a moment to pass some sweetness around in the congregation as quickly as possible. And while we do this, we're going to be singing Eitz Chaim Hi and dressing the Torah and getting ready for our candy toss. But hang on to the candy, don't throw it yet.
Eitz Chaim Hi lemachasikim ba v'tomcheha me'oshar. Eitz Chaim Hi lemachasikim ba v'tomcheha me'oshar. V'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva hashivenu Adonai v'nashuva ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la.
So now we have this crazy and wonderful ritual where you are going to gently loft sweetness on our sweet bat mitzvah, just as she has showered us with sweetness at this service today. And we have a few rules here. Here are the rules. You must stay in your place. You cannot run up to the bima and whack her. That's number one. Number two is that once the bima is filled with candy, we invite any children who are under the age of 13 to come up to the bima and clean it up. Take all the candy you want. Number three is Grace is going to choose someone to protect her from all this sweetness.
Yeah, Eve, why don't you come up?
Eve, what a good choice. One person? And last rule is you wait till I'm off the bima.
Simmen tov, a mazel tov, a mazel tov, a simmen tov. Mazel tov, a mazel tov, a simmen tov. Simmen tov, a mazel tov, a mazel tov, a simmen tov. Lanu. Simmen tov, a mazel tov, a mazel tov, a simmen tov. Simmen tov, a mazel tov, a simmen tov. Simmen tov, a mazel tov, a mazel tov, a simmen tov.
So we're going to remain standing and turn to page 282. We invite up those who have been asked to open the ark, Grace's friends, come on up to open the ark so we can return the Torah to the ark and chant the words of Aleinu, page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'teit gedula li'otzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyeh ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo samech elkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo 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 echad.
We invite you to remain standing as we turn to page 294 for words of Kaddish. And at this precious moment of memory, we think of those beloveds of Grace's family who have died, some of whom were already mentioned here today, who remain with you in your hearts and who I know are kvelling from above. We think of Lillian and Victor Brown, Muriel and Monroe Hattenbach, Arthur Carr, Chris Carr, Sam, Esther, and Elaine Curson, Francis and Hyman Lindenauer, Ben Lobel, Sylvia Mishkin, Arthur Moses, Shirley and Seymour Moses, Sylvia and Eugene Picker, Claire and Herb Siegel, thank you. If there's anybody in our congregation who is in a period of mourning or observing a yortzeit this Shabbat whose name I did not mention, please say it out loud. We think as well of the 6 million men, women, and children who perished in the Shoah, of the over 24,000 Israeli soldiers who have died, and the recent victims of terrorism in Israel. We think about our American soldiers who have died defending our liberties, and we think of all those who have fallen in recent days in the Ukraine. And we take them all into our hearts with our own as we recite these words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kurusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May the author of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved here and everywhere with God's blessing of peace. Amen. You may be seated. So at this moment, Grace is going to receive from gifts from Temple Beth Shalom, from Eitan Mark, who is representing our Board of Trustees. I understand there was a fierce battle waged to see who would present you with these gifts. That's how loved you are. Eitan's the winner.
Yeah, I played the treasurer card. Grace, you did awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations on behalf of the Board of Trustees. And like I said, as treasurer of the Board of Trustees, we're just going to do a real quick budget presentation. When I asked for advice to sort of how to thread the needle for this, a kid or a young woman that I love, and at the same time having to kind of go through the Board of Trustees part of this, I was told brevity and speed are what I should focus on, and the irony is not lost on me that Grace, as somebody that has had to spend very formative and important hours of my life waiting for you to finish something, whether it's finishing eating a stack of gluten-free pancakes at our breakfast table or a very elaborate story. Here we are now where you have to wait for me to finish this speech. But there's no one I'd rather wait for. We love you. And you truly did a remarkable job today. You should be very, very proud. And I know your parents are of course, kvelling, and Eve, maybe to a slightly lesser extent, also kvelling. So congratulations. The Torah portion's obviously a weird one, and weaving that into this also was presented a little bit of a challenge. But one of the things that it did that I think was important for the Torah portion was the importance of ritual and ceremony. And obviously, we're a week from Pesach and having the Seders, which is probably one of the more fun rituals that we deal with. And of course, today is a very important ritual. And I think it's super important to always remember the importance of ritual in what we do, the importance of tradition in what we do, because if nothing else, use it as a critical reminder of the traditions of our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, and we could always think about what it is that they have given us and how lucky we are to be able to continue to practice those traditions freely and openly in this great country that we live in. So I think that we have a lot of blessings and a lot to be grateful for. Continue shining your light, Grace, and your radiance and your generosity and your gentleness, as Rabbi Pomerantz said. And we love you, I love you, the Marks love you, we love you. So that's that part. Now I have to actually read this other part, which it is my honor, on behalf of the Board of Temple Beth Shalom, to present you with 3 special gifts. First, this certificate, because nothing is official until you get a certificate of your bat mitzvah. You should cherish this, you've earned it. Congratulations. Second, this Kiddush cup from the Sisterhood, which will remind you every Shabbat of this awesome day and occasion. So there you go, take that. And third, this traveling Tanakh and Torah, so you can continue your lifelong learning wherever you may be. You'll obviously be taking this with you this summer when you go on the boat. Again, Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. May your family be blessed as you enter our congregation as the daughter of the commandment. Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
Hard to follow that. And Rachel, last night, what board greetings you've received. Anyways, Grace, it's very nice to be up here with you. You're one of those kids that I've seen grow up from the time you were in preschool and foundation school up until today. And like I told you before the service started, you and your family are very special here. You're a nice family. You don't ever bother anybody. You always walk into the shul, and you always say hello. You always say, hi, Mr. Baranek. You always have a big smile, and it's always very appreciated. So you should always have really nice moments like this with your grandparents, with your friends, with uncles, aunts, your mom and dad, your sister. It should always be nice, special moments like this. And know that the doors to Temple Beth Shalom are always open for you for any activity that you want to participate in, all right? So I know you got stuff to do, so let me make quick. This is a certificate that a tree has been planted in the land of Israel in honor of your bat mitzvah by the clergy and staff of the temple. An Israel bond has been purchased in honor of this simcha. And then these are 2 gift certificates, one to the Nifty in Israel program and one to the Alexander Muss High School in Israel program, we hope you will use after your confirmation class here in 10th grade. To your mom and dad and your sister, your grandparents, Mazal Tov. And it should always be nice moments like this. Mazal Tov.
Thank you.
So now we are going to conclude our service with more blessings. So I'm going to invite your parents and your sister to join us up on the bima for Kiddush. And if everyone wants to rise to be part of this as we bless the Sabbath wine and set you on your way for the final part of this mitzvah, which is eating.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim, you can have a sip if you want, even though you're not 21. So we're going to conclude our service with the singing of Oseh Shalom, a prayer for peace that we so desperately need in our world right now. And after the song, there's going to be a video montage with 3 songs. So make sure you get comfortable. There'll be popcorn, not really. No, but just you'll sit down and relax and watch the beautiful video. Now we're going to sing Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom Mimramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom.
See, you're gonna see this a lot. Daddy with a video camera. You gotta get used to that, baby. Daddy's a little weird when it comes to the video camera. I promise, I'll make you this promise. I will not be with you on your prom with the video camera, okay? Maybe before you leave the house, but that's it. Okay?
I'm going to Graceland, Graceland, to Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to Graceland. Poor boys and pilgrims with families, and we are going to Graceland. And my traveling companion is 9 years old. He's the child of my first marriage.
Eva, whenever.
We both will be received in Graceland. She comes back to tell me she's gone. As if I didn't know that. As if I didn't know my own. As if I'd never noticed the way she brushed her hair from her forehead. And she said, losing love is like a window in your heart. Everybody sees you're blown apart. Everybody sees the wind blow. I'm going to Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to Graceland. Poor boys and pilgrims with families, and we are going to Graceland. And my traveling companions are ghosts and empty sockets. I'm looking at ghosts and empties. But I've reason to believe we all will be received in Graceland. when I fall and flying, or tumbling in turmoil, I say, whoa, so this is what she means. She means we're bouncing into Graceland. And I see losing love is like a window in your heart. Well, everybody sees you're blown apart. Everybody feels the wind blow. Ooh, in Graceland, Graceland, I'm going to Graceland. For reasons I cannot explain, there's some part of me wants to see Graceland. And I may be obliged to defend every love, every end. Maybe there's no obligations now. Maybe I have a reason to believe we all will be received in Graceland.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
When May's rushing
Hope when you take that jump, you don't feel the fall. Hope when the water rises, you built a wall. Hope when the crowd screams out, you're screaming your name. Hope if everybody runs, you choose to stay. Hope that you fall in love and it hurts so bad. The only way you can know, you give it all you had. And I hope that you don't suffer, but take the pain. Hope when the moment comes, you'll say, I swear I lived. Hope that you spend your days, but they all add